In this week's episode, Kate Prince shares her journey from being a city lawyer to founding Ancient and Brave, a wellness brand focused on collagen and nutraceutical supplements. She discusses the challenges of transitioning from law to building her wonderful brand. She talks about the philosophy behind her brand and the importance of education and transparency in the wellness industry. Kate also highlights the significance of purpose, B Corp status and social responsibility, as well as her experience as a female entrepreneur in an uber competitive market and taking on external investment and the changes that brought to the business. She concludes with advice for aspiring entrepreneurs, emphasising the need for speed and bravery in decision making. I hope you enjoy. Hi Kate, welcome to the podcast.
Hi Steve, lovely to be here.
Very exciting, very exciting. There is so much going on. I'm not sure we'll fit this into a normal episode, but we'll have a good go. As I explained earlier, that we have a standard question that we always like to start with, which to give people some context as to who Kate is and what she's doing. And I won't give away the exciting brand that you've built, but if you could give us a bit of history as how you've got to here and being the guest on the Swim Against the Tide podcast, that would be fabulous. And then I've just got hundreds of questions for you, so we better get going.
So I actually started my working career as a city lawyer. So I trained at an international law firm, and it's something that from a young age, I think I've been watching like LA Law and thought it was very glamorous and how exciting. And
was it?
No, so it really wasn't. and I mean, actually for about a minute it was. And then what I realized is that it was quite dry. It felt very male. It felt very hierarchical. And essentially, I think what it didn't really allow me to do was bring who I was into the workplace. And in fact, actually, as a trainee, I became head of the trainee social committee. I became head of the trainee and the kind of charity committee. So I was taking on all these extra jobs. I was
to breathe life into this role, sort of thing.
My personality. And I think by the end of it, they were like, well, you kind of sort of work quite hard, but not really hard. And also, like, we think you're probably not suited for this. I think everyone I spoke to, from HR to my mentors, were like, you're great, Kate, but actually don't think there's a job for you kind of here. I don't think there's a career. You should go and do PR. You should go and do advertising or charity or something. Go and do something else. And I was like, oh no, because I've always wanted to be a lawyer. So I was like, that can't be the thing that happens to me. So actually what I did was but I already had a leaning that I wanted to go into media. So I actually went to Halfway House, which was a kind of a media law firm, and then quickly into Endemol, which was a TV company at the time. I think it's now been taken by Banerjee, and they were making a lot of kind of the cutting edge television of the time.
They were Big Brother, weren't they? Just to show
they were age. Big Brother, yeah. I came in quite a few episodes down, and you had to earn your stripes. So other people in the team you had to start when we came in. We had to start with, you had to do like ground force and can't cook, won't cook. And I think by the time I arrived, it was about episode 16 or something of ground force. And so you had to do a year where you did that. And then you got to do all the fun stuff, and you got to do a bit of kind of celebrity or Big Brother. And then there were loads of reality spin-offs. There were things like The Games and The Farm we did. We did some series of like celebrity kind of comic relief, Fame Academy type shows. And I did something called Restoration. These were all kind of fun. But at that time, we were creating contracts that had never been written before. And it was just a point where actually we were all just, creatively, Endemol, Channel 4 were all pushing out boundaries and being, quite brave about what they were doing. But we as lawyers had to be very kind of commercially creative to...
So it suited you down to a ground, this role, didn't it? You got both bits.
I always used to describe myself as like a commercially creative lawyer. And I sort of loved that. I was like, let's find this is a problem, let's find solutions. But that was my favorite bit. And then listening to the other creatives, I mean, not all the time. I mean, some of their ideas were awful at Endemol. It was we did some good stuff.
Did you just say, sorry, legally we can't do that, even though you could?
I was a bit like, well, it's a bit like Ren,
Yeah.
And my husband at the time was like, we would go to the pub, and he was friends with some really like lovely people. We're still friends with today, like actors and writers. And he was a bit like, can you just not tell anyone you're in reality TV? Can you? Can you maybe just
There was a
like,
stigma, did he think? Yeah.
I think he was a bit, I think he was a bit like, I mean, it was a joke, but I think
Yeah, yeah.
he'd, you know, it was probably like, I should have really been in documentaries or something a bit more serious. And you know, he wasn't wrong, but for a few years, I absolutely loved it. I had so
Yeah.
much fun, and it was a chaotic and brilliant place to work, and fantastic team, and the energy and enthusiasm because it was just flying at that point in time with television and the creativity and things we could get made. I
Brilliant.
loved it.
That's fantastic. So then you escaped. Did you? Is that when you escaped the legal world, or?
Did well. I mean, it timed quite nicely with getting married, having my first son, moving out of London. And for a little while, I essentially became kind of freelance legal and worked with some small production companies. But I'd always had this drive to have my own business. I'd always had what I call my side hustles. And it was anything like creative, or I wanted to import something or create something or write something. And that was very kind of a side that I'd never really explored, because I think I'd just gone from just being a lawyer to not knowing if I couldn't draw. I didn't really know how to, you know, use a kind of, you know, art kind of direction on the
Yeah.
computer. You know, I'm not musical. There were like no
So apart from
skill,
that, it was a very natural
no
progression,
skills
wasn't it?
attached
Yeah.
to this, you know. But I think I just wanted to explore whether I had that kind of creative note to myself or out, you know, and give it an outlet. And I think brand for me had always been something that I'd become, you know, very interested in. When I connected with a brand, became very loyal and quite faithful to the brand, and I kind of wanted to understand what for me was making that connection. And my husband then was a photographer at the time, and we launched a very sweet British tea brand called Prince and Sons Tea, which is still around today and in some of nice hotels like the Pig Hotel Group and various other places. But quite quickly, tea wasn't really kind of the thing that was getting
It
me out
didn't
of bed.
set you on fire. Yeah. Yeah.
It wasn't really like my passion. But, you know, at the same time, I was learning a lot more about wellness. I was actually very fit. I was, you know, working out a lot. I had a young family that I wanted to feed in a really healthy way. And I was not disappointed, but kind of trying to understand what was available in the market that would make me want to come back and keep taking it. So, you know, there were things out there that were supposedly very healthy, but actually were quite kind of hard to consume or maybe difficult to get hold of. And actually, you could see what was happening in America. You see that there were some fantastic ingredients, there were some great products. And that's when I started to get really interested. It's about 2016, 17 in things like collagen and MCT and using raw cacao all the time and finding kind of substitutes that still made my diet like interesting, but kind of filled with, you know, much more kind of beneficial products.
And
So
you doing all that discovery off your own back? You were literally researching, reading,
yeah,
watching, etc.
I wasn't like training at all to be a nutritionist. That wasn't my background, but I was doing, you know, like small courses on it. You know, with things that we could take and just learning more about my body. And again, I just started trying and trialing loads of different products. And I just felt like there was a different way to bring a product to the market, which came from like what was the basis for it? Where had it come from? Did it have sustainability credentials? You know, was it kind of clean, or was it at that point, I think a lot of things that were coming to the market kind of didn't taste great, or they were full of like fillers and flavors and additives. And I was like, this isn't great either. So can we make products like we did with the tea? We formulated, we brought different botanicals into the tea and we balanced out the flavor. And that was the first time I'd ever done anything like that. But I felt like I wanted the opportunity to do that within a wellness context.
Amazing. So that is good, isn't it? I would say it proves as well in terms of career journeys, where you start and where you finish can be, well, whatever you want it to be, can't you? If you've got a bit of bravery through to it. So come on then, the big reveal. We've got to tell everybody what amazing brand you've built.
Well, so then it led me on to creating Ancient and Brave, which is a mission-driven, as we call it, wellness brand. And we specialize in everything from collagen to nutraceuticals, supplements, as well as these incredible blends that we do, which don't have fillers and additives, etc., but, you know, have some great flavors from kind of matcha through to cacao to a coffee.
Amazing. So that launched, what, in 2018, was it?
So yeah, so very much me at the kitchen table for about 18 months. So we launched 2018, and didn't know what I was doing. From not from day one, but we did a trade show. We had some interest. I think quite early on, it went into places like Selfridges and Planet Organic. And these were kind of, key retailers. And it was all very exciting. I knew nothing about D2C. Like the tea brand hadn't gone anywhere near D2C.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Any of that. And actually, I was just very proud to see it on the shelf. And I think, but it was kind of relentless. I was literally packing the orders. I was unloading, pallets of products as they were coming in, and packaging and designing and trying to work it all out, and working with some very clever, lovely, freelance kind of consultants, etc.
Yeah.
But I think for me, it was I was learning on the job, let's say.
Yeah. So what did you launch with? How big was the range when you first launched Ancient and Brave then?
So I launched with 4 products initially. And we did kind of this quiet we had no money. So we had this soft launch through 2018.
No, it was all part of the strategy. No, it was all part.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the sellout was brilliant.
Yeah.
No, it was like 2018, and I still launched it with about £70,000 of money. But that was everything. That was brand. That was the website, and it was the first run of those 4 products. So let's say it was a small run, like 1,000, 2,000 of each. And that's what I bought with all of that. Yeah.
That's incredible. I love it. So my background is obviously in marketing and advertising and brand. So you've got I know a lot about it. It'd be great if you could explain to our listeners a little about where the Ancient and Brave comes from, the sort of values and proposition that's under seats all of that wonderful activity. And obviously that's just recently culminated in your launch of your first television advert on Channel 4, which you can tell us about that partnership too. God, there's lots in there. Start with the brand. Tell me all about the brand, because I love this story.
Well, the name actually does have kind of real depth and meaning to us, and has been sort of one of the pillars and foundations of the brand itself. So the ancient is the ancestral part, looking back at all these incredible ingredients that we've used for hundreds of years and that have kind of influenced our health and well-being over like a very long time frame. So, what works for our bodies, like let's go back to very clean, very single ingredient, natural products. And I think that's the learnings that we take. So that's why we don't have kind of fillers and additives, etc., in our product. And we lean into botanicals or meat-based products, but they're always usually like a byproduct of the animal. And then marrying that with a brave new world, new science, new innovation, and how those two things can come together. And so one of the things, for example, with the collagen is we source from bovine, and we also source from wild caught fish. But one of the things is I don't have to, thankfully, go out and catch the fish to have that moment, and I can have it presented in a very kind of beautiful jar sitting in my kitchen. And so it is those two lovely parts of who we all are coming together in that brand name.
I think it's interesting, isn't it, to say you're not scared of the science and how you marry that with, like you say, with what has obviously worked for hundreds, maybe thousands of years, but we've just forgotten because we're all busy looking forward and forget to sometimes look back.
Yeah, well, I think what science has done is it's harnessed a way to use these ingredients in everyday life, and it's given us them in a very kind of simple format that we can use as part of our everyday ritual and take on every single day. So whether that be in a supplement or a powder form. And I think, science has also given us so much research in what works for our bodies, maybe at different times. And we're also working that out on an individual basis. I mean, one product doesn't work for everybody. And there may be certain moments in our lives that we lean into, or we prefer one kind of product, or we have a different need state that is saying, oh, I want to support my sleep, or I really want to support, I want to do more exercise, or I'm just feeling a bit under the weather, and
Sorry, Kate, it's interesting that is, as you've grown, do people come at you with not problem, but like you say, I want to improve my sleep or my skin, I need to get some radiance back into, do they come to try and solve something, or do they come to say, oh, I want that collagen product? Does that make sense? And it happens to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think both ways work, right? And it's down to the individual. So what you might do is go, I've heard about collagen, I want to source a great collagen. And hopefully what you get from the education and the science on our site is you start to understand what makes a great collagen, and therefore that we feel like that we obviously like hit that criteria. So what's the sourcing of it? Where, exactly where does it come from? How much you should take? Why you should take it? When the best time, etc., is to take it. And so that education piece kind of comes together from the website. But also people will come naturally. You'll go, I just want something to help me with sleep, and I don't really know what that is. So what products would I be looking for? And actually, again, the one thing that we really pride ourselves on as a brand is, I have a team of about 12 nutritionists and scientists and innovators. They were like two of those who are still with me today and heading up both those two teams of brand nutrition, science, innovation have been with me like from like the first 5-6 people that we ever took on, and they've stayed. And I think it's just been such an important part of that brand, is that educational piece and the science behind it. And also for us not to be kind of overly preachy and what do you need to say, what suits you, what are you looking for, and then see if we have a solution, I suppose, for you.
I think that's interesting, isn't it? Because like you say, that can work two ways. If you are too preachy, if there's too much science, you scare people like, oh, I don't understand it, so I'm not going to go near the product. And I think that's why I like what you've done with Ancient and Brave in terms of suggest a movement and an attitude of your customer. And like you say, you can dial up or dial down which bit you want, whether you want to feel that you're going backwards or you're using the greatest science. It's quite a nice way for people to discover the brand, isn't it?
Well, thank you for saying that. I mean, I feel like we are very much, we are very passionate about the product and where it's come from, and the benefits that it's going to bring to our consumer. But we definitely consider ourselves to be brand first and lifestyle first. And I think what that does is it helps us tell a story about the brand, like where it's come from, why we've put that together. And I think it's talking to the consumer around, why you would need to take this, why you'd want to take this, what's the purpose of it. But I also think, we don't underestimate the consumer. They come with knowledge, most people. I mean, some people are coming looking to explore and find a great option that suits them, but some people also coming with knowledge, and they want that presented to them. So you're right, it's like, but we will tell the science. Sometimes it's layered, and sometimes you have to kind of dig a bit deeper, because we'll do links into much longer articles from our website. But I think it's kind of vital that it's all there for you if that's what you want.
I think that's just it, isn't it? You've got to give people the opportunity to dive deep if they want, because they're putting this into the body and they want to know where it's from and what it does. Whereas others will just believe a campaign, and that's great. But I think you need to balance both of them.
I mean, some people want a 10-second read, right? But some people want a 3-minute read. And I think I think what we want to do is showing that we share our consumers' value system. And if they want more information, we will provide it, and we will be transparent and honest and compliant about that when we are supplying it.
Brilliant. Okay. So you started with a range of 4 products. What's the range like nowadays, and how's that journey been?
It's got a bit bigger. I mean, not massive. I mean, we think very, very carefully about all of our product lines. And actually, we have a bit of a formula now. So we probably have an MPD pipeline, which is really robust, and probably we could fill about 5 years right now. But the reason
that's just wasted one of my questions at the end, Kate.
No. Well, the reason we're doing that is because we're constantly researching, products and ingredients. We're listening to what new science is coming, new innovation is coming, because we always want to be ahead of the marketplace. We're also looking at what we're missing in our range, what our consumers need, why they would perhaps go to a different brand because we can't supply that Ancient and Brave. And obviously there are some other amazing brands out there that are very specialist in one product area, and we may not be able to supply that, and we may never want to supply that. But I think what we're trying to do is cover off those lifestyle choices that you might want to look at, and make sure that we have a solution that we can provide. I'm not really sure how many products we have now, because we have them in sort of different formats and bundles.
Size and
but not like maybe 20 different product ideas.
But that helps. Otherwise, it's too much of a daunting task for your customer to work out, what should I have? Should I have them all? Should I have just one?
Well, I think also there's no way you can you're going to take all of them in any one time, is it? So I think naturally people will just lean into saying, I really want one specific product, or there's 3 or 4 that I'm really interested in. I mean, I've worked out how to get about 6 into my day, no problem, no sweat. And that also is part of what we try and do as a brand, is give it you in different formats. Like, for example, I can have my water bottle filled up in the morning, and I know that I can add in like collagen, hydration, I can add in creatine, and I can now add in our new True Bio. And because none of them taste of anything, it's all very, very neutral flavor taste.
So you get all the goodness and no downsides,
All
sort of
gone
thing. Yeah.
in, going like
Yeah.
bang, 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 and it's all gone in, and then I can just drink that through my morning. So I think it's also about working out what works for you and your day, and it is also the reason that we actually don't have, like, we work with a number of you know, celebrities, should we say, and influencers and ambassadors, and these people are fantastic for us and the brand and the relationships that we're forming, but they have to have come to the brand very organically, and it's generally just about 1 or 2 or 3 product lines that they absolutely love. So no one's coming and just saying, you know, well, some nice people are going, I love Ancient Brave, but essentially what they're doing is they're going, this product really works for me because of XYZ. So they're telling their story, which allows the brand to tell its story about those products through individuals who actually genuinely love them and use them.
Because obviously, I think most people will know you for your relationship with Davina McCall, won't they? I think if they've come across the brand, they'll have come across her promotion of it. So how did that partnership come along?
I mean, Davina, a few years ago, she talks a lot about different brands that she loves, and you know, and she's always very genuine and honest and open. She's incredibly kind about that, and generous how she supports, you know, small brands. And we were a small brand, and she went down the camera and was just like, I use a collagen and it's Ancient and Brave and I love it. And that for us was fantastic. And it absolutely introduced us to, you know, a new demographic. I mean, Davina's demographic, and it kind of sat with the customers that we were talking to anyway. But I think when you get someone as great as Davina, you know, she's always going to be telling her story in a very kind of truthful and honest way. And she wouldn't, you know, at that point, we didn't know her. We definitely had no relationship with her, monetary or otherwise. And, you know, that evolved over the last few years. Now we do have, you know, a strong partnership with Davina. Long may it continue. And, you know, we're thrilled and delighted. And she very much champions 2 of our products right now, which is the collagen and the creatine. And then we work with other lovely people. We've got, like, you know, Dame Kelly Holmes, who's amazing, loves another product, Fern Caution, Rose Ferguson. You know, so there's lots of people who bring their own kind of expertise and their own needs into our product range. And then kind of they've worked out, they usually come and tell us exactly what product they like and why they love it.
So it obviously gives you a nice steer, isn't it, when they're already actually customers? It's a wonderful way of developing your sort of messaging out to your customers again, isn't it?
Well, I just don't think we would, in fact, I know we wouldn't work with anyone who didn't already use the product. It wouldn't make sense to us. It wouldn't feel authentic to us.
So in terms of, look, from maybe my naivety, I'm sort of assuming this is a maybe a female focused product, but it isn't it? This stuff works for anybody and everybody, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've worked with some amazing female ambassadors that I think generally women, there's probably a bias that generally women are known to lean into wellness, or they may be buying for their families. And obviously the ambassadors that we talk to probably have a much higher proportion of female followers, etc. But I mean, they're wellness products at the end of the day, and they are absolutely kind of fit for anyone who would, you know, like to take them and what, you know, and wants to feel better.
So you giving me permission to steal Jill's collagen products then?
Yeah, but don't tell her I told
Yeah,
you.
yeah, exactly, yeah. But it's interesting, isn't it? Because with the brand, and when people hopefully after listening or watching the podcast will go and sort you out, the brand already works for anybody, and that's really exciting. It's not as though you have to do a male range, a female range, and everything in between. You've got a wonderful brand that you can always be very proud of because the same values work and proposition.
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely true. And I think the brand is very strong, as you've mentioned, and I think it does resonate with both, you know, with everyone. And it was, pretty intentional, as well. I didn't want to launch something that felt very kind of pink or yellow,
Yeah,
it
exactly.
just
Yeah.
I wanted it to be bold, and I wanted it to be strong, and I wanted it to kind of tell the value system of the values that we uphold as a brand, which are all those things, be brave, be strong, you know, be great every day. And yeah, I mean, it does resonate hopefully with a lot of consumers, and it definitely stands out on shelf. So
Yeah.
it's done that job well.
Tick, tick, tick. Wonderful. Right, let's focus on you a bit, Kate, because it's all about you, this podcast as well, not just that wonderful brand and business that you've done. So you had this sort of itch that you wanted to scratch in terms of, you didn't know what it was, but you just knew you weren't happier earlier and in your career. But you've got that great experience behind it. How have you grown as a leader over that time from, like you say, literally on your kitchen table, probably putting labels on bottles and all of that, packaging,
Yeah.
to a team now? I mean, how big's the team now? It's over 100, isn't it, nowadays?
Yeah, we're getting close to 150 right now.
Wow, that's incredible. Congratulations. So
Thank
tell
you.
me, go on. So how different is Kate on the kitchen table to Kate now leading this awesome brand?
I mean, hopefully I've grown as a CEO, as a founder, as a colleague, but also I think I'm probably quite similar in many, many ways. I mean, all of those personality traits that you need to get you going and keep you going are all still with me. And in fact, but it's just that the ambition grows and grows. So that grit, incessant perseverance, and when the day is tough, I'll kind of drill down even further, and I'll still do that. It's not like anyone's doing that for me. I'm still probably the key problem solver in the business, and I still have to be a jack of all trades. I've brought in amazing specialists who are far more knowledgeable in certain areas than me, but essentially, I'm problem solving in different areas all day, every day. So I might flip from ops to innovation through into marketing or partnerships, and really every aspect of the business. And that's getting harder and harder because it's just a lot more to kind of get
Well,
across.
I think the
But
fact that you're now in, what is it, 22 countries, and you've got all these retail stuff with Selfridges and Harrods, it's quite a lot going on, isn't there?
yeah, there's quite a lot going on. We're very much, I think what happened was we were about 50% D2C and B2B by the end of 2022. And then we had 23 was our year of very extraordinary growth. And we went from a team of around 10 to about 38 people. And in that year, we went from 1 million to 10 million. And I did it without a lot of resource, without any kind of HR or finance baked into the company. We were still using external consultants and bookkeepers and,
Yeah.
out of date systems. And so we had to gear up really fast. And it was a very exciting, brilliant year. But at the same time, it was exhausting. It was terrifying. It was all of these
It's
things baked.
amazing how quickly you learn, isn't it, under that sort of pressure?
Yeah, you have to. But I think by the end of the year, it was exhausting. And then also halfway through that year, I did an investment round.
I was about to say, yeah.
Yeah. So
What you had half an hour spare, so you thought, yeah,
yeah.
let's get some VCs in. Yeah, yeah.
Well, I mean, it wasn't really the time or moment to do it, but actually, I don't regret it. And in many ways, it just made me move very quickly, make decisions very quickly. I met a few partners who had approached us. I mean, Piper, who we eventually partnered with, were one of them. And a lot of my value system with Piper aligned. They were also a B Corp. We were a B Corp, and it's very much kind of part of the heart of the brand. Um, and I
And I
felt like,
suppose they're the deep specialists in retail, aren't they, as well? Which is hopefully you could tap into some insight from them from that end, that
yeah,
they've been there and done that.
they've worked with some beautiful brands, from Monica Vinda through to Neom, who's a gorgeous brand, and Bloom and Wild. They've worked with Bowden in the past. So these like household name brands. And I was like, oh my God, they're actually talking to us.
Yeah.
And so there's part of you that goes, I don't know if I can sustain this growth. I don't know what I don't know. I don't have enough grown-ups in this room to take me through the good and the bad times that may be coming our way. And we were very profitable that year, so we didn't do it for the money. We did it for that relationship, that
Yeah.
expertise.
I
that
suppose that scalability of the business quicker, isn't it? You can suddenly go, yeah, let's jump on this fame that we've now got.
Yeah. And I mean, still, even when you're growing and you're a £10 million business, very few people really actually know about you. I mean, you think you've kind of saturated all your conversation, but still no one knows really who you are. I mean, that's still happening to us, and we've now grown, we're going to be a 50 plus mil company this year, 2 years later, which is great. And we're thrilled. And that momentum has been brilliant. A lot driven by the subscriptions that we have and recurring revenue that we have. But it has meant very much building out the team. So as I said, about 140, 150 now, 85% women.
Brilliant.
And that's mixed between this lovely new office that we have. We've just moved into in Lewes on the river, in the county town in Sussex of Lewes. And also we have warehousing where we do a lot of we have storage, and we do some production, and we do most of our own fulfillment.
That's excellent. I mean, we shouldn't have to talk about this, but the fact that you got, as a female founder, that you got funding, unfortunately, is a surprise, isn't it? Or not a surprise, but it's rare. What is it, about 2% of all investment is with female founded businesses?
Yeah, I mean, I hear figures between about 1.5 and 3%. So I'm hoping it's creeping up to the 3. And I mean,
let's be positive on 3, but it's still terrifyingly low, isn't it?
Let's be positive, but I have to say, like, for the first 4 or 5 years of the business, I had my head down. I was in Sussex. I had a family I was balancing with the business, and I wasn't really aware of the support groups or the female, institutions that I now am part of. And they have been brilliant. And I think actually the timing is just that they have all kind of risen up in the last 3 or 4 years. And so anyone, I think, who's starting a company now should look at all of these groups. There's By Women Built, there's Women's Chapter that's out there. There's Sam Smith's got Super Scalers. And these are where female founders can come together in a collaborative, connected way and actually share advice, share stories. Definitely, I mean, it's very lonely being an entrepreneur.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
And I think it's a moment where you don't feel quite so lonely, and that there can be advice if you want to put yourself out and ask for it. Someone will come back with an answer.
It's also interesting, isn't it? As you become more successful, it could actually potentially become more lonely because people assume, she's all sorted. Look at her there with a 50 million turnover. Everything's hunky-dory. She doesn't want to talk to me. And that, like you say, that size just brings different challenges, doesn't it? It never goes away. Nothing ever runs itself.
I mean, for sure. I mean, I just did a conference up in Edinburgh, and, there was a total mix in the room. It was like people who'd scaled to 100 plus million. There were people who were just starting. And those conversations with people who are just starting versus someone who's ahead of you are just all so beneficial. I mean, I got to sit next to a supper, Dorina, who founded the Uni, the pizza.
Yeah, pizza ovens.
I mean, that's just completely delightful. And we just got into a whole conversation around, are entrepreneurs normal? And we concluded we definitely weren't normal people. So for better or worse.
I think it's interesting, isn't it? The word you could say, but there's just obviously something in you that you're not going to accept the norm, and you've got something to. I don't think it's even something to prove, but your brain works in a different way, like you say, that you want to try and achieve something, and like you say, you were probably sure what it was, but then you suddenly got the interest in wellness. You learnt the blending stuff from the tea days, and suddenly it's like, here's something, and then you beautifully hit on something that was of now, which is always a great start to a business, isn't it?
Well, I think all you can do is literally go one day at a time, right? When you're starting, and you lead into what strengths you have, and you ask for help, or you find someone who can support you with the strengths that you don't have, and that's definitely was my journey and my path. And like I said, a lot of those people I worked with early days are still with me, and I feel very loyal to them. And those people that are still with us, love the brand, and they love what we've built, and they're definitely part of it. And I mean, I'm sure they are. I know they are hugely proud.
Should be. It's incredible.
It does. It took a team. It wasn't just me. It took a big, beautiful team.
So you've had some nice, let's say, outside recognition of your success of the brand and of yourself. So last year you made the Times fastest growing companies, didn't you, in 24? Was that, were you fifth? Was it fifth?
We were fifth last year. Yeah,
Yeah,
we were 11th this year. I think
yeah.
the bigger you get, it gets a little bit harder.
Well, it's
We
all
are
to
going
do with it's the base is bigger to jump
to
off, isn't it?
revenue. Yeah, I mean we're going to try and really punch and see where we can get to this year. I'd love to stay top 20 for next year, but let's see. Like
Look at that smiling aggression, Kate. I love it. I'm there. I'm
oh,
back in top 10.
there are
And
many youngsters as well that I've met who are doing phenomenal things. They're flying past me. They're doing it all in about 2 years flat, and they're doing it with style and grace and community and about half my age. So they are phenomenal.
hey, come on. We said this earlier. Age is but a number.
That's a
It's
number.
it's irrelevant. I look like the guest I had on a couple of weeks ago was a guy who, again, well, not quite. He'd worked in the city for 20 years and then just realised he hated it. So at the age of 40, stopped, retrained as he went to a cookery school, retrained, and then he set up Pastor Evangelists with two other guys. And it's so interesting. And now, he literally throughout the whole, when he's talking about this brand that he built, he just had the biggest smile on his face. And I thought, that is just wonderful. It proves. I think it's attitude rather than age. Look, you get experience. Although the legal days and the endemol stuff, mentally people might think it's not relevant, but it is, because you learnt things there. You learnt style that you probably gave you a leg up when you started your own thing, because you knew how to deal with people, you knew how to do contracts, you knew how to negotiate, and all those sorts of things that you kind of forget you've learnt that just become your core skills with experience.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, that's all correct. And thank God I had some of those skills because I've needed them to negotiate many times through all of this. And just to read a contract, no one can really afford the lawyers at the beginning for sure. So, and I still do a lot of the contracts we did. I still did the contract with many people and for many things here. I have a view and a read through. But yeah, that there are some brilliant brands out there. And I think things like the Times 100 acknowledges, and it's a moment to pause and
celebrate
and enjoy that moment and how hard everyone's come together in the room. And actually, it's an incredibly supportive space where I feel, I mean, other people might feel differently, but I feel like the competition just goes. It doesn't matter that night. It's not important. Yeah. We're all, everyone's done
build that new network of people who, who are going through the similar things or have been through or are about to do, and you can help, isn't it? I think that's it.
Yeah.
The idea of connecting people through whatever is fabulous.
I think that's a room of people who, really know how hard everyone in that room has worked to get there. Fantastic. That's quite an alignment. And
it is.
Yeah.
Right. And I know you're not going to say this unless I push it. So you please share the award that you also received last week at the dinner, at Sunday Times dinner.
It was very special, and I won Female Entrepreneur of the Year award at the Times dinner. I was absolutely thrilled, and I was up against some very tough competition from some amazing other brands, and I really did not anticipate winning. And I think as they were reading out the award and who'd won, I was a bit like, oh, it's really interesting. Who's that?
She sounds really good. Yeah.
But as I said, they did mention my age, and that was like, I was like, oh, that's quite old, Then I realized it was me. So that was a surprise.
Wonderful surprise. Very well. On a serious note, congratulations, because you're right. It's we motor along in life at such a pace nowadays that you have to have moments of reflection. That there are times that just give you a chance to go back and go, wow, in your vast 7 years running this thing.
Yeah, but the best thing, I know this is going to sound really cheesy, but the absolute best thing was I came into work the next day, and some of the youngsters, 2 or 3 of the girls got together, and they bought me some flowers, and they bought me a card, and it was just the sweetest thing, saying, that they were inspired to be here and happy to love working here. And I was like, wow, that actually made me sob. I was like, I was fine till that moment, and then
it's
dissolved.
funny, isn't it? But but that's it, isn't it? And you, I suppose, again, because you're always driving forward, you don't realise the impact in a positive way that you're having on your team, that they have got a wonderful role model, that I suppose it's, can you find time to give that back and sort of mentor back, or is that something you'll look to try and do in the next sort of chapter, if that makes sense?
I definitely try and make time for people, particularly when they've just started a brand or their brand might be stalling or they're early stage. I think it's really hard, and I don't think anyone's asking me anyway, when you get to a certain stage, you have to kind of lean into your gut as a founder, right? So
Yeah,
it's really lovely to share stories, but I'm not sure everyone's looking for kind of specific advice unless it's like, can you find me a CFO or something like that? So it's quite sort of a different question that you're asking. But I think when you're early stage and it's just like prompting a new founder, have you considered XYZ? And one of the big things that I feel very passionately about is sort of ESG, and have you baked that into your brand, or at what stage do you feel like you could introduce that, and in what form does that take? Because for me, there's so much more than just profit. It is like really about kind of the purpose of the business, and
go on,
and it
explain a bit about that, because I know you've got an extremely high B Corp score, but that's not an exercise you're going through as a brand, is it? That is literally driving core values within the development of the business.
Yeah, I think we've like basically baked that in from the very, very beginning, and it's part of our value system. And how that transpires is that we actually give 2% of our revenue every single year through to social environmental causes. So there's some great charities that we work with, from one called Love Mercy, which works with communities in Uganda, through to something called Boys in Mind, which supports boys with mental health issues, and some other fantastic charities that we get to work with, and the team all get very much behind that and support that and get to know the charities. And we're sending some people out actually to Uganda in the next few months to go and see the finished maternity hospital that we've built. They've built, we've supported them building. But it is very much like also how we source the products, the kind of the checklist for the suppliers that we work with, how this transpires through every single aspect and every single choice that we make as a business, how we will only lean into ethical marketing, the benefits and the resources and the training that we put behind our team, and all of these things, all of these aspects as pillars of the company and the brand that we wanted to put together. And we are fortunate that actually we are profit making, but I would say that has been led by the purpose of the business, which has resonated with the consumer, which I think is a really strong reason to consider all of these aspects when you are starting your brand, or if you own a brand.
It's a really good point. Like I said to you, I've been very lucky to meet about 60 different founders or CEOs or people that are driving the growth of a business. And the ones looking from the outside that you look and think look fab, but also are good businesses, are very interesting, because when you meet the people behind them, their passion is the product or the service that they give, and basically the experience that they give to their clients first, and then seconds come the money. And I know it's a little bit of a cliche, but I don't think it is. I think there's a reason it's a cliche, is because it's probably right, that if you get your product right and you get your service right, the pricing naturally sets itself, so people know that they're going to have to pay a little bit more for your product because of the quality and the love that's gone into it, and that everything in it is good for you, and you're not, like you say, full of sawdust, fillers, and in between, everything else in between. And I think that's where the success then follows, doesn't it, rather than the other way around.
Yeah, I mean, I think you said that really beautifully. I think it's exactly right. It's couldn't have said it better. I mean, it essentially
Well, I'm
is.
not supposed to be talking this much. Come on,
I
Kate.
know, but you're actually doing a better job than me. Um, I know, I actually completely agree with you. I think that's exactly right. And I think there is an opportunity before you launch a brand to consider all of these aspects, and hopefully add them into whatever your price point might be, because as you said, they may lean into a more expensive price point, but actually the experience your consumer is going to have, or the quality of that product, is actually going to be so much better. And I talk a lot about moving someone from being a customer to being a lifelong fan. And I think that really only happens when you kind of build that loyalty and trust between both of you, between the consumer and the brand and the experience in between. So for us, that has been really, really important from day one, and we've always made decisions. So like the price is not the primary reason to do something or not to do something, not at all. It's like, can we tick all of the other values and qualities and experiences that we're looking for, we want our consumer to have. And that really informs whether or not we will launch that product. Of course, we want to get the price right,
Yeah.
but we rarely make compromises based on that. We would probably just not launch the product.
Yeah, if it was affected one way or the other. And I think
Yeah.
that's right. And as long as it's interesting with lots of brands, if they explain the story as to what's behind it, people then understand, because it's not that it's more expensive, it's just the value is there because of what's in it or what is in that service, and you get X or Y, so you go, okay, that's worth it. And at the end of the day, people will decide, won't they? They'll either buy it or they won't. And if they're buying into something bigger, that's exciting.
Yeah,
Which
I think that's right. I agree.
which leads me on
Yeah.
to another question then. So get your crystal ball out. In terms of the offer of Ancient and Brave and how that's going to grow, how far can you see the brand stretching? Because like you say, there's lots of things you could go into once you're into wellness. It's quite a big market. I mean, you are a perfect guest on this podcast because you are in one of the busiest, most competitive markets going, that has such stretch from a sports, nutrition, performance, right the way through to well-being and health. So looking in your crystal ball, where do you think the brand sort of offer is going to grow over the next 5 years?
Well, I think for us, one of our focus areas is always going to be around the NPD. So bringing the absolute best, most innovative products to the market, and everything we create is in-house. So it's all proprietarial. We've got patents that are pending on some of our product lines, for example. And we, like I said to you earlier, it's like we just have this really enormous NPD pipeline that I want to bring everything to market tomorrow, but we're not. And we have how we feel is probably about 3 products a year means that we can give it all the attention that it needs to give it a proper launch and to be able to tell the story and the education piece and the science behind the product. So that for us is one of our key focuses is just brilliant, innovative new product to the market. It's also what that NPD allows you to do is also perhaps talk to a slightly different demographic. And, you made the point very beautifully earlier that we are predominantly, probably a lot of our customer base is female, but actually we're bringing a product in January, which I think is I won't tell you what it is, but I think it's going to lean a little bit more into a male skew audience as well. And I think that could be quite an interesting moment for us as the brand. We're also bringing out a product later next spring, which might also lean into a slightly younger, more kind of beauty demographic. And so that just offers a different angle to something as a brand that will bring all with the same kind of efficacy and the story behind it and the ancestral learnings and leanings that we kind of lean into as a brand. And then after that, it's probably exploring new territories. So you mentioned we're in a number of countries, too many really, with like a small kind of splattering. And
Okay, yeah.
one thing I've really learned from working with Piper and listening to the market and next steps for us is that actually you have to identify 2 or 3 key markets and really learn how to connect with the customer, which is very different. Like UK to Germany, for example, is very different through to Spain to US. And those are the key demographics that we're focusing on right now and territories. And I think for us, it's about exploring the impact of the brand those key countries and territories for growth.
Yeah, because like you say, if you can, not only to your brand but the values in terms of the B Corp side, you're going to have to make sure you can deliver that product where you feel it's ethically and sustainably possible, don't you? You can't suddenly sort of have shipping containers or flights going all over the place. It's how you deliver it. That's so that's
for sure.
exciting.
And that would be also then around starting, sourcing and innovation closer to the source, not innovation, but like production closer to the source. Right. So leaning into production and fulfillment, more localized and more territory specific. But there's lots of challenges, out there, cross-border and language, but we've had to build out a German team and a Spanish-speaking team, and now a US team.
Yeah, I didn't want to mention the words Brexit because I've seen a couple of interviews and that. I think a polite way of saying it gave you a few headwinds for a while, didn't it? And and a lot of companies like yourself.
Yeah, I think I remember when it happened, and it was, as we all know, it was all quite last minute in the end, and rapid with no help and support.
Yeah.
I definitely do think it's one of the worst things that's ever happened to this country in terms of business and small business. And I remember having lots of conversations at the time with small business owners and big business owners who were trying to import things like cheese into France, and it was a mess. It was a shame, but most of us navigated it and got around it, and still standing.
We're here, and you're doing rather well. Right, couple of quick questions, because I've just realised the time as usual. I've gone so far over, but I don't care. I'm loving this. So, if you were to recommend someone's not heard of you, what would you reckon would be the best sort of starter product with Ancient and Brave for someone to dip their toe into what you offer?
Nice question. I mean, we always start with what we call our foundation products. One of them is always collagen. And as I said, I actually don't eat red meat, but I do take the bovine product because I know it's a byproduct of the animal, and our collagen is very beautifully clean, and it comes from an EU source, which is quite novel in the marketplace. So I would, if that doesn't sound great to you or you don't try it, we also have a wild caught fish collagen as well. But if you are against all of those, then I would just dive straight in and enjoy something like a beautiful True Hydration, which is our very clean, beautiful electrolyte. We have creatine, and I'm just going to go on now. I'm just going to list all the.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll do a deal. We'll put a link. We'll put a link so everybody can go and see it. Right? Okay. Because it's interesting. One of the team here, and she is beautifully younger. We'll go back to age, but she'd heard of the brand and knew about the collagen side, and the first thing she said was, I didn't realise the body stops sort of producing collagen at 25. I don't know whether she's 100% right, but the idea, like, you're thinking, oh my word, so it's never too early to start, when she was feeling old at 29.
I mean, we always talk about it kind of from around the age of 30, that that your levels of collagen decline in your body. So there's going to be a moment at which you probably will decide that you want to supplement that. I think for 25, I think it's probably a bit young. And I think there's probably other amazing things that you can do for your kind of your bones and your gut. And even if you just want to lean into it from a beauty moment, from kind of skin, hair, and nails, which isn't something that we really talk a lot about as a brand. I know other brands do, and it's great for all of those things, but it's just, we think there's kind of bigger and better benefits for you in terms of whole body health that collagen can bring. But there are some other great things. Omegas could be taken at any age. Magnesium to support your sleep. Ashwagandha, I absolutely love. Ashwagandha is all about kind of supporting stress resilience, and can also support you in times of hormone fluctuations. So if I was in my 20s and 30s, those are the products that I'd probably be leaning into.
Mainlining that. It is interesting, isn't it? Because like 5 years ago, magnesium and all of those sorts of things, you would obviously knew what it was, but you would have no idea of its benefits. And I think what's wonderful is we're learning that these very natural, organic supplements can really make a difference to you, helping you sleep, helping you, like as you say, joints and body rebuild itself. So it's exciting from that point of view, that through the halo effect of you and your competitors of what you're doing to hopefully make us healthier and fitter.
Well, I guess what happened was there was just a natural shift in the world. I mean, particularly post-COVID, we kind of went.
It was, wasn't it? It was that.
I think it was. I think it was kind of shifting from a kind of curative to a preventative system, and we all started to do our own research and become a little bit more knowledgeable, become maybe kind of more self-aware of what our bodies needed or were doing, and maybe that pause supported that, and as a consequence, there is just kind of a lot more science that's going on, be that brands doing it. We're investing like around £500,000 in science and innovation, and also all this, clinical trials and studies behind that over the next few years. And I think other brands and other colleges, universities, everyone's doing the same.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And do I hear you have a hot chocolate product, which I was quite excited about?
Yes, I do. Yeah, it's my go-to in the afternoon. Our cacao with collagen, which has a little bit of ashwagandha in, and also has some lovely raw cacao and beetroot and other great things in there for you.
Right. I think that's where I might start my Ancient to Brave journey, rather than stealing choices. Love it. So we always finish on the same question, Kate. Now you are this business guru, awarded accolades by the Sunday Times, so I'm doffing my cap to you.
Like one, but yeah.
I'm sure with it being having the Sunday Times brand behind it acts more than one, but yeah, okay, you're being very bashful. What was the thing you think you'd tell young Kate 7 years ago?
young 7 years
Yeah,
ago.
come on, younger Kate, 7 years
Yeah,
ago that you've learned that you think, yeah, either might have saved you a bit of pain or might have got your foot up a bit quicker?
so I mean, everything's fantastic with hindsight.
We're all
Uh,
geniuses
I've
now.
probably got a whole list of things that I wish I could go back and tell her. But one of the things that we always talk about is pace and moving very quickly. And I'm not, and I never really have been big in, I'm not a procrastinator. I kind of just move on and I try and find solutions. But there's definitely a few years at the very beginning where you are a little bit in fear, like, will people like this? I'm trying something. Um, and I think that moment I could have speeded through a bit quicker, because now my mantra every single day is like, let's move really, really fast, let's fail really quickly, and then let's do it better and move on. And that's kind of, maybe that's hard conversation to have on by yourself at the kitchen table. Like, too fast, to move faster, be better. But actually, it's part of the culture of the company. And because we are working at speed and the growth is a fair pace, we are all juggling and moving quite quickly with lots of different ideas that are buzzing around this office, and the collaboration is going on. So we will throw something out and we will drop it, and then we will kind of, as everyone says, build the parachute on the way down. We will fail fast if we fail, and we will move very quickly to rectify it and go again. And I
Love
think
that.
that's something I would tell day one myself 7 years ago to just absolutely lean into and embrace.
So, let's go back to the brand. You should have be braver.
Be braver.
Be
Yeah.
braver. There you go.
For,
In a
for,
soundbite. But it's interesting, isn't it? Because and part of it, a lot of people say, yes, I'd give that advice, but also, unless I'd gone through that experience, I wouldn't be the leader or the person I am now. So it's a bit of a tricky one. But I think you're right. I think making decisions quicker is one of the most important things, especially when you've got a team that are following you, because they're waiting for leadership. And if you over procrastinate on things, A, you could miss an opportunity, but B, they fill that void sometimes with,
yeah.
not to say the wrong things, but sort of you could get distracted. So
Yeah. Well, one of my sayings, which I'm sure I just picked up from someone else, I'm sure it's not original, is that even procrastination is a choice. So there you go. So
there's our
land
soundbite. Yeah.
on that, because we can pause or decide not to do anything or research to our heart's content, but we are basically just kind of filling the gap till we make this choice. So let's make that choice quicker.
I think I might be accused of that many times. Right, Kate, that has been fabulous. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
You're so welcome. It's been delightful, and thank you for being far more eloquent at moments than me.
What a team, hey, what a team.
Sum
The
my brand up.
ancient and the brave. There you go. I know which one I am. Right, Kate, we will follow your story with great interest, and thank you for sharing that so far.
Thank you, Steve. It's been delightful.